Hey there, fellow tech enthusiasts. Welcome back to my channel, Address to Earnings. Hi, I'm Divya, and today we are going to discuss about the DDL commands. So we have already discussed what is DDL, right? Data Definition Language. So this is actually consists of all the SQL commands that can be used to define, alter, and delete database structures. They can be anything like tables, indexes, and schemas. So what DDL does is it simply deals with the descriptions of the database schema and is used to create and modify the structure of database objects in the given database. So today we are going to look into the DDL language commands. All right. So the first command of DDL is create. So what does create do? Create helps us to create databases or its objects. So the objects can be anything like tables, it can be indexes, functions, or stored procedures, weaves, or triggers. So they help us to design the database. So what is the syntax for create? So suppose let's say if I want to create a database, then simply I have to write create database and then database name. So let's say I'm going to use a university database. So I want to create a university database. So create database university. So this is as simple as that. Remember, SQL is not case sensitive. That means even if you write create in smalls or even if you write create in caps, there is no problem. You can use as per your convenience. All right. Now simply execute. We can see that commands completed successfully. And where can you see whether the database has been created or not? Simply go into the databases. You can say university database is being created. Now, let's say I want to create a table. All right. Mm, let's go with a student table. All right. So I'm going to create a student table. Simply create table student. I'm going to name the table as student. So this is going to be the table name. All right. So create table student. Now, what should we have in the table? We should have some columns, right? So we are going to define those columns now. Let's say I want to have a student ID column. So student ID. All right. Let's say the student has the first name, and then last name, and then again, let's say his or her phone number. All right. So for now, this is enough. Let's assume that this is enough for now. Now, we have created the columns. We have given the column names to. So now, since we have already discussed that if we want to extract tuples, so we need to have keys, right? So student ID, by using student ID, I can simply retrieve the student names or student phone numbers and all, right? So student ID is going to be the primary key. And moreover, since we have defined the columns, we have to define what type of data are we going to store in that columns. So for student ID, let's assume that we are going to store it with int. So beside we have to write the data type that we want to store. And then I want to make student ID as a primary key. So primary key. All right. Now first name. So first name is nothing but going to be a character type, string type of data, right? So this is going to be varchar. Sorry, varchar. Let's say 30. And again, last name also is going to be a string, right? So varchar 30. All right. So now comes the phone number. So phone number is generally a 10-digit number within India, right? So I'm going to use varchar 10. So you may get a doubt, why can't we use big int for storing phone numbers, right? So what happens when we use big int is, suppose let's say if we have a number that leads with 0. So what happens is it gets stored like without 0. Suppose let me give you an example here. So assume that you have the phone number like 9787 something. Okay. Okay, this is not a 10-digit phone number, but assume that this is some 10-digit phone number. So if you want to store this phone number, and when we use begin, what happens is it stores without 0, that is 97888089. It stores in this way. So the actual number gets changed. So that is one of the reason why we don't use begin for storing the phone numbers. All right. And even we will have some formatting issues. Suppose phone numbers generally require some formatting, right? Let's say if we are storing some international numbers, obviously we will be writing like +1 and then a hyphen, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 etc, right? So this formatting will not happen if we use begin. So but varchar makes that formatting happen. And next thing is, if we are storing international numbers, some international numbers may exceed the begin range. All right. So that is the reason why we can't use begin. And generally remember that begin is generally used for mathematical operations, but phone numbers are not mathematical operations or not mathematical values, right? So storing them as begin makes no sense because you will never perform arithmetic operations on phone numbers. So the best practice is use varchar. So if you use varchar, now you may get a doubt. Now I'm using varchar, right? So what happens if someone gives me wrong number? Let's say if they gave me like something, the number is something like this. So 9A767, something like this. So even this gets stored in the phone number, right? But this should not be stored in the phone number. Now what should I do? Simply, we can use a constraint here. Let me show you how to write a constraint here. So simply you will be writing constraint ck, and what is the table name? What is the table name? The table name is student, right? So student, and what do we have here? Phone number. That is phone oh, excuse me, phone number, right? Yeah, phone number, and then check phone number. Like, okay, this is going so big. Let me cut it here. Yeah, I guess it's good right now. Yeah, perfect. So phone number, like what should be the phone number should be? Let's say it should be from 0 to 9. All right. So we have 10 digits from 0 to 9. We can go on like this. Give me a second. I'm just going to copy and paste all the 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and one more time. Yeah, perfect. So now simply I just wrote a constraint here. So this is how we are going to use the constraints for a particular value. All right. Next, close the bracket. Now I'm going to execute this. So I'm going to select the query that I want to execute and click on execute. So commands completed successfully. So all right, this is how we create tables in SQL. So let me show you whether this table is created or not. Though select is going to be a data query language, but no problem. For now, let's understand whether this table is created or not. So select star from and then give the table name, that is student. All right. Now execute this query. So wait a minute. Oh, yeah. You can see a table is being created with student ID, first name, last name, and phone number. All right. So in Server Management Studio, along with that, we can manually create tables without writing queries. And how do we do that? Just simply go to the table and right click on it. You will find a new. So give that new table, click on table, and then you will get this. All right. So we have column name, data type, and whether we have to allow nulls or not. So let's say this is the first one is faculty ID. All right. Faculty ID, and the data type is going to be integer, of course, and we can't allow nulls because it is a primary value. All right. Next comes the faculty name. Okay, faculty name, and this is going to be varchar. Yeah, we can allow nulls for that. And then faculty subject. What are the subject that he's going to be teaching? Let's say he's going to teach a single subject. All right. So and that is going to be also going to be a varchar 50. or varchar 10 our wish, and we can have nulls. Okay, so this is how we can create the tables. So allow nulls, yes, we can allow null here. We have the column properties here. So the name of the column is faculty subject, and we have allowed nulls, and we have data type varchar, and the length is going to be 50. All right, so this is how we can create tables without writing queries. But since we are learning SQL, let's stick on writing the queries. All right, now we have created tables, we have learned how to create tables, we have learned how to create database, right? So next comes the insert, right? So we are inserting into what? We are inserting into a particular table, right? So insert into what table we are going to insert? A student table. So insert into student. And next, values, we are inserting some values, right? So values, listen, if we want to insert into a particular columns, then we have to give the particular column names here as well. Otherwise, if you want to insert completely, that means if you want to insert into every column, then you can simply go on like this: insert into student values, and then again, so the first one is student id, right? So it is a integer, so 123, let's assume. And the first name is going to be, let's say, Divya, and the last name is going to be Sri. All right, and next we have phone number, that is also a varchar 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and 0, another 10 one. All right, so now let me execute this query. So we can see that one row is affected. Now let's see how it is affected. Simply select star from student, and then again execute it. So we can see that we have got a tuple, right? Student id 1 2 3, Divya, Sri, and we got a phone number. So this is how we can insert into student. So now what we should do if we want to insert into a particular columns? Simply write insert into student, and what are the columns that we want to insert? Student ID, right? Student ID, and then again first name. So what are the values going to be? Let's say student ID is 456, and the student name is Harry. Now simply execute this. One row affected. Let's see how the table goes. So we can see that since we didn't give any particular last name and phone number, we have null values here. All right. So this is how we are going to insert values into the student tables. And we have given the constraint here, right? So let's just check how the constraint actually works. So now again, I'm going to write insert into student. So since I'm going to give all the values, I don't need to worry about writing the column name specifically. So let's say again some 576, and his name is, or her name is, Hermione, and Granger, last name is going to be the Granger. I hope all of you know Harry Potter. Now let's say I just give 9AE, some random numbers with alphanumeric. All right. Now what happens if I try to execute this? Let's see. See, the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. So the conflict occurs in the database master table dbo.student and column phone number. So it shows that where the conflict is arising, since the column constraint is not being checked properly. You got the point, right? So it is not following the constraint. So we can't do this. So what do we have to do? Simply change the value again. This time give an actual phone number which follows the constraint, like 98989898, be it 9898. I hope there are 10 digits in here. Well, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Yeah. Now see, we can see one row affected, and again select star from student. So we can see we made an entry to another row. All right. So now you may get a doubt like, should we write particularly insert into student for every row that we are going to enter? No, there is no need for that. Simply you have to just keep one of the values in the braces, one row in a single brace, and then again continue with another row. That is all right. So this is going to be. Now if we execute, wait a minute, I can't execute the same since we already executed it once. Let me change the primary keys. All right. So now I'm going to execute. Yeah, I'm sorry, I have given an extra bracket here. So this is how, now select star from student. So you can see we again got the rows, right? So this is how we are going to create tables, we are going to create databases, and how we are going to insert the values into a table. So next comes the next DDL command, that is drop alter. So before going into drop, because drop generally what happens is when you use drop, it deletes the objects from the database. Like if I want to drop this entire student table, I can simply use drop. So but before going into the drop command, we will look into the alter command, because once I drop it, again I have to create all the tables, right? So let's work with alter. So what does alter do? Alters the structure of the database. Suppose, let's say if I want to add a new column to the database. So what should I do? Okay, all right. Now I want to alter the student table. That means I want to add an extra column into the student table. Now what should I do? So simply, we can simply write alter table name, that is student, and sorry, alter table, and then the table name, that is student. What should I do? I have to add a column, right? Add email. Let's say I'm adding an email column, and that's going to be varchar. Let's say some 50. I'm not going to add any constraints as of now, and let's see whether how this works. Right? Let me write at a time. Select star from student. Now I'm going to execute this, and you can see a new column has been created with email since we didn't have any particular values, and all are going to be null values. All right. So this is how alter command works. All right. In alter, we can even use we can particularly use to drop a column. All right. Suppose let's say if I want to drop this email column. Now what should I do? Simple. Alter table student drop. What is the column? So drop the column email. Now execute it. Command completed successfully. And if you check the table, select this and run the query. So you can see that there is no column called email, right? So this is how we are going to use alter command. Next comes the comment. Even remember comment that we use in comments, whatever comments we use, like be it single line commands, this is a comment. So even comments comes under the DDL, that can be anything, single line command or a multi-line command. Like this is a comment, all right, or even in inline commands. So these all comes under the DDL. Next comes the truncate. So what does truncate do? Truncate removes all the records from a table, including all spaces allocated for the records are removed. That means, suppose let's say truncate. What is a table? Truncate table, give the table name, that is student, right? Now simply execute it. Command completed successfully. Now you can see select star from student. Now if you execute it, you will see there are no values that here. So it removes all the records and the spaces which are allocated for the records. All right. Now comes the last command, that is drop. Simply use drop table student. So this is going to delete all the objects from the databases. That means this is going to delete the student object from the database. So now if I execute it, command completed successfully. Now if you try to select from student, you will get an error. So let's see what is the error. So invalid object name student, because we have dropped the student table, right? So there is not going to be a student table. Or if I want to drop the entire database, drop database university. So be careful while you're working with drop and truncates, all right? They are going to delete the objects. Truncate is going to delete the objects, and drop is going to delete the entire tables and databases. So you can see command completed successfully. Now if you go into the database, you'll actually see there is no university database, all right? So this is how we create databases and we insert values into databases, or if we have to alter any table structures or anything, this is how we are going to do it. So from the next lecture onwards, we are going to focus on the queries, and we are going to learn all the DML queries, all right? So thank you for joining in this today's lecture. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next video, see you, bye.